Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins 0. In the last episode, Rintaro Okabe suddenly shifted from one world line to another, a world line ravaged by the horrors of World War III. A world line in which, surprisingly, the Soviet Union is still intact. And as he was being driven to safety, Rintaro Okabe was questioned by none other than the man you see before you, an SDF officer by the name of Shimayama, who questioned both, I mean to say three people, that is to say Rintaro, Fubuki and Yuki, both of whom in this vehicle, Mayuri, Ferris and Ruka are in the other vehicle, a second armoured personnel carrier following en route. As for Suzuha and Daru, their whereabouts are unknown. But Shinoyama is interrogating Rintaro about the possibility that this might actually be an alternate world line, even though he disdains such a concept as fringe science by crazy scientists. Unfortunately, I think we're about to be interrupted at this point. We heard the sound of an incoming call on a cell phone. That would be Shimayama's superiors. Shimayama grunted and took his phone out of his pocket. So we're still on our way to the Defense Bureau. Apparently Shimayama is not happy. Yeah, so Shimayama is not happy with the politicians in charge of the current Japanese government that's being torn apart by war. Shimayama's finger slammed down on the end call button so hard that I thought the phone would break. There was a look of rage on his face. So we're en route to Kaneda base this time. An American Air Force base in Japan. It is twice the area of Tokyo International Airport. I thought we were heading to a Japanese airport, but now we're heading to a US airport. His words were filled with irritation as he spoke to the driver. He's clearly not happy with this turn of events, and to be honest, neither are we. Changing destinations. Who was he just talking to? As I sat there confused, Shimayama started to call someone else. Looks like he's calling the other transport vehicle. That was all he said before he hung up. Looks like the US military is taking charge of this operation, it seems. So the American military have a great deal of interest in Rintaro Okabe. Something tells me that this change of plans is not as far from coincidental. And it's certainly not a whim. America.
せめてファーストクラスを準備するよう要求しておくが、期待はしないでほしい。あいつらは我々の言うことなど、飼い犬の吠え声としか思ってない。
You raise a very good point, good sir. Well, Rintaro, you're gonna have to ask the American military about that, and they probably won't tell you
CIA か NSC か知らんが、君の即時引き渡しを求めているそうだ。
Oh great, the American intelligence agencies are involved. This cannot possibly be a terrible thing. CIA is basically the Central Intelligence Agency, which reports directly to the President. They engage in spying, intelligence gathering, and political manipulation in foreign nations to guarantee America's security. They are said to have been involved in major historical events. Heaven forbid they get their hands on a time machine that can alter worldlines. And the NSC is the National Security Council, an organization that works directly for the White House and advises the President on national security matters. It consists of the President, the Vice President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, and the Secretary of Defense. Yeah, Shimayama is not happy with the current situation, and then he turned back to the front and fell silent, refusing to answer any of my questions. Well, that's certainly a change of pace from when he was interrogating us earlier, hoping to get some information for the Japanese government. The car went down the road for a while, until we got off an exit that's read South Okinawa. We stopped in front of the gate. US Air Force, Kaneda Air Base, and there are at least a few American militia stationed guarding the entrance. Several US soldiers had evidently been waiting for my arrival.
君をアメリカに渡したら、もう我々のところには正しい情報なんて一つも降りてこなくなるだろう。
Isn't it fun? Isn't it entirely grand when international communication just doesn't work in real life?
だから、これが最後の機会だ。
Your last chance for what? To get some information out of us, or to make some sort of amends? Shimayama turned around from the front passenger seat and looked straight at me. His eyes were desperate and begging.
教えてくれ。我々はこの先どうすればいいんだ。
You're asking Rintaro Okabe of all things what the SDF should currently do now? I couldn't even begin to tell you, Shimayama. It seems that Shimayama wants to do something, anything, during this time of crisis. I remembered all the soldiers in Tokyo who fought so desperately to protect me. And now, Shimayama has orders to hand over Rintaro Okabe and his companions to the American military, which basically means that the SDF's mission has pretty much been for nothing. Were they fighting to help someone else in Tokyo right now? Or were they already...
わかりません。
May sound like a weak answer, Shimayama.
岡部君。
But we can't help you in this situation. And even if we divulge the information on the time machines and the worldlines and everything that we've been through up until this point, none of it is going to solve anything, because whoever's responsible for World War III, whoever stands to profit, to gain from World War III, technologically, they have a trump card that we don't.
本当にわからないんです。
And if Rintaro Okabe can't do anything about the situation, then it stands to reason that the Japanese SDF, yeah, they're hopes have really gone to hell in a basket.
この戦争をどうにかできると思いますか？ゴリバチョフやレリツィンがロシアの大統領になるとか、東西冷戦を劇的に終結させるとか、そんな歴史を知っていたところで。
Indeed, knowing world history from an alternate world line doesn't help our situation in this one. We're still fighting a losing battle. I could hear the sound of another car getting closer. That'll be the other transport. Shimayama sighed and opened the passenger side door. Once we're transferred, we're basically no longer the responsibility of the SDF. They'll be redeployed elsewhere. Thus our relationship with Shimayama comes to an end, abrupt as it was. I exited the car and as I was told. And there's Mayuri, safe and sound. And it's a good thing that the Soviet Union didn't, their helicopters didn't show up. Mayuri got out of the van behind us and ran over to me, and, yeah. Even dressed in military clothing, Mayushi is still Mayushi. Probably the only person in the world that can make military clothing look cute.
Mayuri!
I know that's inappropriate given the situation. But we're reunited at last. My childhood friend flung herself into my arms and I held her tight. Since this is still a beta world line, we can take it as read that Mayuri Shina isn't going to die anytime soon. Which is a huge relief. Of course that will mean that Kurisu Makase is still dead on this world line. But as long as Mayuri and the others are safe, then that's all that matters. I could feel her warmth. Mayuri was here. I'd never gone almost a whole month without seeing her before. And this was wartime. I couldn't easily contact her like I could in the old world line. So I've been worried about whether or not Mayuri was okay. It was no exaggeration to say that I'd survived this far just to make sure. I'd erased the entire Alpha world line to save her. No matter what happened, I wanted her to be safe. Yeah. I'd held her too closely. But then again, can you really blame him? I took a step back. So Mayuri still held hope that everyone would be reunited in this at this point. Of course, how long they all remain reunited remains to be seen. There's Ferris and Ruka. I had two more voices I recognized. Ferris and Ruka, and behind them I saw Kaede. And of course, Ferris no longer has her cat ears, which is rather unfortunate. And she's no longer wearing her hair in her twirly ponytails, or pigtails, or whatever. And Ruka is still Ruka. Still a dude. And that military uniform actually makes him look more masculine for a change. I felt myself getting choked up too when I saw Rukuko cry. I exchanged greetings with Kaede too. Fubuki had grabbed onto her like a little kid. She was still pale and trembling. Given the fact that she's the only one who is currently going through the experience that Rintaro is going through, that's to be expected.
フェリス、さすがにメイド服じゃないんだな。
I guess the SDF frowned on her wearing her usual outfit.
フェリスって呼ばれたのも久しぶりにゃ。
Although on this worldline apparently it's been too long, so she's going by her old name of Rumiho Akiha, it seems. Fairy spoke sadly. Then she put her hand around my neck and held me close. Her little pink lips got close to my ear, as if she was about to kiss me.
おい。
What was going on?
にゃはは、照れることないにゃ。
No, even in this worldline, Ferris is still Ferris. She laughed mischievously. Then Ferris, no. Rumiho Akiha whispered into my ear while pretending to kiss me.
気をつけて。防衛省の人も米軍の人も信用してはダメ。
Ferris is being uncharacteristically serious for once, for the first time in fact. Don't trust the Ministry of Defense or the Americans. They have their own agendas.
大人は嘘だらけ。みんな本当のことを言わないわ。
Don't I know it, Rumiho? That's right. Ferris had a special talent. Yeah, Ferris has the ability to read people's emotions, basically, and gauge what they're thinking. So essentially, if a stone-faced American soldier were to tell her something was classified or that he couldn't divulge information based on what she was asking, she'd know right away whether he was stonewalling her. Cheshire break. And that ability is what makes her such a great player of the Reunite Access Battlers card game. And she is very much the Cheshire Cat, a fictional grinning cat in Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is the full title. She was incredibly good at looking into someone's heart and seeing what they were thinking.
思い知ったよ。
One of them just tricked me. Although, I believe he actually had good intentions, which is probably more than I can say for the American soldiers stationed here. Ferris looked surprised and took a step back.
悲しいにゃ。
そうだな。
Unfortunately, our little reunion has to come to an end. And then I heard the sound of another engine. This time it was coming from beyond the gate and inside the base. It belonged to a black luxury car with an E on the license plate. Behind it was a minibus. The two of them stopped in front of the gate. Are we being kept here at the airbase, or are we being transferred to the United States? It was time for my reunion to end.
Welcome!
An American soldier as tall as a basketball player got out of the car.
ようこそ皆さん。私ハモンドです。歓迎します。
What rank are you? Colonel? General? Pray tell. His Japanese was good, but not
では
great.
ミスター岡部以外の皆さんはバスに乗ってください。
So, Rintaro is going to be interrogated and grilled by the American military, where everyone else gets kept elsewhere. He was smiling, but I could tell he wasn't going to allow any arguments. And the other American soldiers were still carrying their rifles, as they stood guard without smiles. Shimoyama and the other Japanese soldiers were watching us from a distance. They didn't try to stop us. They were just looking downwards. It looks like their role in this is over. which is rather disappointing. Mayuri wants to know why Rintaro is being held for questioning.
皆さんには少し話を聞かせてもらいます。でも後ですぐに沖縄防衛局へ送ります。さあ、どうぞ。
Are you really going to send them all to the Japanese Defense Bureau? I wonder about that.
大丈夫だ。安心しろ。
Unfortunately, antagonizing the US military is not a good idea.
でも
Alas, it was such a short reunion between Rintaro
Yuki-san.
and Mayuri.
参りを頼みます。
はい。
Yeah. I think Rintaro would agree with me when I say that really wish that Suzuha was here right about now. She could probably help us with the situation. Yuki nodded and put her arm around Mayuri's shoulder as she led her to the bus. Everyone else followed. But Mayuri still doesn't want to leave Rintaro behind.
よろしく言っておいてくれ。
And off they go. Once everyone but me was on, the minibus left immediately. Well, Hammond wasn't wrong when he said that they were heading to the Defense Bureau. The thing is, they're the ones going to the Defense Bureau. Something tells me that they're planning to keep Rintaro here on the American Air Force Base. The area in front of the gate felt silent. It was hard to believe this existed in the same world as all the places I had crossed on my escape through Japan's main island.
さて、それではミスター岡部、あなたはどうぞこちらの車へ。
He told me to get in the back seat of the black luxury car. What would happen to me once I got inside? I'd probably be taken to the airbase. I tried to think about it but realized there was nothing I could do. I was just about to get into the car when...
岡部君逃げろ。アメリカへ行ったらもう生きて戻れ。
Shimayama's scream was cut off by the sound of gunfire. In the corner of my eye I saw the American soldiers firing without hesitation. No way. I tried to turn around when...
乗って。
A large hand blocked my vision as Hammond held me down. I couldn't hear Shimayama's voice anymore. Through the gaps between his fingers I could see that nothing was moving. And I knew exactly what that meant. Well... Despite his gruff personality, Shimayama was dedicated to his mission to protect Rintaro Okabe. Unfortunately, it seems that the US military has other orders. I was shoved into the car before I had time to think about it. I tried to open my mouth, but Hammond looked into my eyes and shook his head. I wasn't supposed to talk then. Hammond sat next to me and closed the door. The car started to move. Soon we turned down a different road than the one the minibus was taking. I knew it. America, huh? I'd never been there before. What were they going to do to me there? Use me as a guinea pig? Cut open my head and dissect my brain? Need I remind you that Kurisu isn't alive in this world line? I probably wasn't going to be able to do any tourist things. I felt like screaming but tried my best to stay calm.
あなたに会わせたい人がいます。
Hammond suddenly spoke. Then he handed me something. I took it before I even looked at what it was. When I checked it, it was a normal smartphone.
ロックはかかっていません。そこのボタンを押して。
Very well then. Unusual circumstance. Confused, I pressed the button as I was told. And then something appeared on the screen. Ominous silence. What the? It can't be. Amadeus Kurisu?
クリス
Why is she on the phone? It was the Amadeus Kurisu Makase.
なんで米軍がアマデウスを
That is a very, very good question. But given the fact that, there are too many connections here that are leaping out of my mind. Remember that, Kurisu spent a lot of time at science institutes in the United States. And then there's the fact that Alexis Leskinen is from the United States. I was about to ask Hammond when, for the first time in about a month, that feeling came back. Looks like Reading Steiner is happening. But why? Why now? And we're shifting to another world line, 1.2954, I think? The whole world and all its colors began to shift. Well, it looks like we're back in the Future Gadget Laboratory. There was a feeling of instability, like my brain was unable to recognize where it was, and then dizziness and a sense of falling, like you get when you're anemic. I could hear the blood vessels deep within my ears, and they sounded really loud. The sense of floating finally stopped, and my surroundings coalesced into firm shapes. Yes, I swear I could hear the sound of Mayuri. Mayuri was in front of me. But wait. Having a look at the phone here, it's the 21st. Oh, it's 21st of January. So that means it's 2011. Quite a leap after the events of the Christmas party, it would seem. Now, Rintaro doesn't know this, since he doesn't have the divergence meter in this world line. But, I know for a fact that we're not entirely exactly on the world line that the Christmas party took place. I was in the lab, and the room I knew so well. There was no trace of Okinawa anywhere, and Mayuri is here before us, alive and well.
そんなに見つめられたらまゆし恥ずかしいんだけど
I realized that I was staring at Mayuri. I looked around the room. Everything's still there. Daru was sitting with his back in front of the PC like always. Or sitting in front of the PC like always, hunched over with his back to me. Suzuha was reading a magazine on the couch. In the open page I could read the title, New Encephalitis Strikes Worldwide. Are you in danger? Still thinking that encephalitis is a cover story. Just saying. The same couch, the same cheap fridge, Daru's computer, desk, the dirty curtain that cut off the development room from the rest of the lab. It's all still here. The wall clock, which I'd picked out of a garbage dump, told me that it was past 6. I looked at the calendar and 2010 was already gone. It was January 2011. The worldline had changed once again. But it seems that World War Three, sorry, not World War One, World War Three hasn't happened yet. I was back. Sad to say, Rintaro, not entirely. This may be similar to the world line that you disappeared from when the Christmas party happened on Christmas Eve, but it's not exactly the same to the old world line. Give or take 0.01 or 0.002% divergence. Something truly bizarre is going on with the world lines.
Mayuri, ここって秋葉原だよな。
At least I think it is. Mayuri seems a little bit confused.
秋葉原だよ。
Thank goodness. I was worried there for a
今日っ
second.
て何日だっけ？
It appears to be Friday the 21st of January.
21日。
ゴリバチョフ知ってるか？
ゴリバチョフ？どこかで聞いたことがあるような。
Question is it the same Gorbachev?
ペレストロイカっしょ。恐ろしや。あ、でもゴリビーってソ連時代だっけ？
The fact that Dara remembers what perestroika is means that Gorbachev happened.
やっぱロシアといえばプーチンっしょ。目の前で睨まれたらしょんべんちびる自信あるね。
Bit of a cruel joke to play on my part, but if I ever met him in person, I'll tell him that. I won't do that.
さんなら
No.
知ってるよ。
Strike
ロ
that.
シアの大統領さんだよね。
And even Mayuri Shina knows who President Putin is.
実はワンコが好きなんだよ。秋竹を飼ってるんだって。ニュースでやってた。
That was something I didn't know. But the fact that Putin is president means that the alternative world line,
そうだ。大統領だ。
the rather horrific world line that we were on just moments ago, is not the world line we're on now. Yeah, of course, Mayuri, Daru and Suzuha all looked at me suspiciously. Daru and Mayuri might be confused, but I doubt it will take long for Suzuha to put 2 and 2 together. It felt like a long time since anyone had looked at me that way. I was back. I no longer had to worry that I might be killed at any second. I felt incredibly relieved, but at the same time, I wondered. That could actually pose a bit of a problem. And in actual hindsight, it actually complicates things a lot. Because something tells me that even if we were now to accept Suzuha's offer to go back in time and try and save Kurisu Makase from certain death, and even if we succeeded and managed to reach the entrance of Steins Gate, something unexpected could happen that could shift the world line even further. Speaking of which, why had the world line changed again? It certainly wasn't our doing. It was an outside influence for the first time. And until we know what that outside influence is, we basically still have the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads once again. I needed to calm down and think for a bit. I went up to the roof and booted up the web browser on my smartphone. Unlike during wartime, it connected immediately. I was amazed at the speed. Just getting an internet connection in the last Worldline had been difficult enough. It's amazing the things you miss when they're gone. I started by looking for Gorbachev on Wikipedia, and the results came back instantly. The Soviet Union's first and last president and perestroika. The August coup d'etat and the collapse of the Soviet Union. So that all happened in this world line. All the keywords I hoped to see were all there. As soon as I confirmed the Soviet Union was dismantled at the end of the 20th century and no longer existed, I closed the browser. Well, that's certainly a relief, but we're not out of the woods just yet. Then why had the world lines shifted again? I hadn't done anything. I didn't have any way to affect the divergence value. But someone else does, and that's truly terrifying. So what had changed it? Had whoever performed the first experiment in Russia undone it? Had they watched its progress for a month and then been satisfied? Were they going to keep doing it? And if they did, would I be caught up in it each time? It was a mistake to come outside without a coat on. It's incredibly cold right about now. Nothing I could come up with by myself would be anything more than a guess. In other words, hypothesis. I went back to the lab. The wreaths we put up at the entrance for the Christmas party were still up.
Christmas party. Ka.
Yeah, the Christmas party that we never got to see the end of. It had only been a month, hadn't it? It felt like a million years ago. I had no memories of what I'd done in this world line after the Christmas party.
ああ、そういえば飾り付け放置したまんまだっけ。いい加減外さないとな。
We probably should, given the fact that it's almost February.
パーティーの時にオカリンと吹雪氏が倒れたっしょ。それでバタバタしちゃってちゃんと片付けできてないんだよね。
Speaking of Fubuki, we'll have to talk with her at some point and see what she remembers of the past world line. It was one thing for Rintaro to collapse, but for Katsumi Nakase to collapse is entirely unprecedented. Was that when the world line changed? Yes. The answer is yes. Everyone remembered that I'd collapsed at the Christmas party, which means I'd come back to the same world line as the one I'd been in before. Once again, Rintaro, if you had the divergence meter, you would realize that that wasn't entirely the case. If this was Russia's doing, it was terrifying to think that they could control the world line to that degree. And there was one more thing. It worried me that Fubuki had collapsed too. We should see how she's doing. Post haste. I stood there lost in thought. Daru and Mayuri looked a little concerned. They're clearly worried about Rintaro.
中瀬さんの具合はどうなのかなって思ってな。
I quickly came up with an excuse. I wouldn't necessarily call it an excuse, seeing as how we needed to do that anyway.
ゆぶきちゃん、まだ入院してるんだ。
Well, we shouldn't really bother her if she's unconscious, but if she's awake, that's a different story.
入院？もう1ヶ月近く経ってるのにか？
大丈夫だって言ってるんだけど、ちっとも退院させてもらえないんだって。
So the hospital has attributed Fubuki's symptoms to this encephalitis case. I've heard that lately, unless you were really, really sick, they wouldn't let you stay in the hospital for very long. Was Fubuki sick with something?
これの疑いが晴れないらしいね。
And Suzuha hits the nail right on the head. Suzuha whispered as she held up the page of the magazine she was reading. New encephalitis strikes worldwide. Are you in danger? I borrowed the magazine. We were talking about this last November. I'd seen a glimpse of it on the news. Outside of Japan, they'd seen almost 100 people, albeit with mild symptoms. In Japan, there were 10 people being kept in hospitals for examinations, or so the newspaper said. So it made its way to Japan, and one of those 10 was Fubuki then. Was it transmissible by air? If you believe the phenomenon that's going around is encephalitis, we didn't catch it at the Christmas party, did we? I knew that getting nervous wouldn't help anything, but still, I wondered. And Suzuha has a thoughtful expression on her face.
ねえ、オカリンも一度病院で見てもらった方がいいんじゃないかな。
Well, I would actually say that Rintaro's feeling a little bit better.
あの時のオカリン、吹雪ちゃんよりもっと具合悪そうだったよ。
Given his emotional crisis, that's not surprising.
考えておくよ。
But it is rather odd that the hospital was keeping Fubuki for far longer than normal. I gave a half-hearted answer to Mayuri and turned back to the magazine. Strange symptoms being found all over the world. Cause unknown. Sudden memory loss. Memories differ from those of the people around you. Losing all sense of the passage of time. Losing the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality, and sometimes having waking dreams. The article was filled with things like that. This was like...
リーディングシュタイナーみたいじゃないか。
Not just like Rintaro. And it matched to exactly what Shimayama had told me in the other Worldline. About how many other people in Japan and the West
随分とリアルな夢を見たりするとか。ひどい時には白チュームというのかな。現実と夢の区別がつかなくなることもあると聞いた。
Of course, that was when he was grilling us for information. But he didn't deserve to be shot down in cold blood by the US military.
しかも一人や二人じゃない。
And something tells me that it's definitely more than 10 people in Japan. A lot more. I'd wondered then if Fubuki possessed Reading Steiner too. Maybe the reason she collapsed at the Christmas party wasn't some new disease, but the unexpected activation of Reading Steiner. That would mean that her diagnosis was wrong. The unnecessary tests and treatments they gave her wouldn't help a bit. Unless the whole encephalitis treatment thing is nothing more than a cover story. It looks like I needed to talk to Fubuki. Indeed we do. We need to head over at once. I ended up going over that day. I don't go into hospitals very often myself, and yeah. An empty hospital at night is, Hollywood doesn't do it justice. That is to say that Hollywood does do them justice, because they're an empty hospital with flickering lights and everything is exactly how it feels like. Fubuki was at a large general hospital with a medical student department located in Ochanomizu. It was close enough to Akihabara I could walk, and getting there was easy enough. Since you might get the wrong idea if I went alone, I encouraged Mayuri to come with me. I hoped it would look like I was only coming as an afterthought, but it ended up being a bigger deal than I expected. When I heard Mayuri was going, Yuki and Kaede decided to come too. Well, they're all friends, so why not? Evidently, they'd all been to visit Fubuki several times before, and they knew exactly where she was located. They walked down the halls without any hesitation. It was almost 8 when visiting hours ended, so we needed to hurry. But as we passed by a nurse's station, there was a minor commotion. A woman in her late 40s wearing a grey jersey was yelling at the doctors and nurses. Could this patient be another case?
治療なんて何にもしてないじゃない。しかもちょっとした検査のはずがなんで1ヶ月も出られないの。仕事はどうしてくれるの。
落ち着いてください。この病気は未知の部分が多く、十分な検査を行って慎重に治療をしませんと危険なのです。
That's if it's a disease to begin with.
嘘。テレビじゃそんなに大変な病気じゃないから安心しろみたいに言ってたわよ。
ですから、それは適切な検査と治療を行うことが前提です。先ほども突然のめまいを起こしたと看護師からの報告が来ています。
Well, it's nice to see that the hospital staff are doing their jobs, and they're actually concerned about anyone undergoing these
あれ
symptoms.
は夕飯が遅いからお腹が空いて貧血になっただけよ。私は元気なの。さっさと退院させて。
The woman was about ready to grab the doctor by the throat. Several female nurses held her back, and then dragged her off somewhere with reassuring words.
びっくりしたわ。
Yeah, we should probably let her be
大
alone.
丈夫かな。
We should check if she is. The girls hurried even faster down the hallway. That's a very sensible idea. Fubuki was in a 4-person room at the very end of the hallway. We hesitantly peeked inside. And Fubuki is there, and she's not seeming too well. We could hear moaning coming from beyond the curtains surrounding Fubuki's bed. Mayuri went pale and hurriedly ripped them open.
きちゃん。
And it's Fubuki, wearing some sort of strange sort of apparatus on her head. Fubuki made a strange noise and spun around as we came in. I saw her and saw that she was... I looked closer and saw that she was sitting on the bed with her legs crossed, watching a show on the LCD TV attached to it. Her eyes were red and swollen, but given the fact that she had a stick of Pocky in her mouth, she was probably just crying over a soap opera.
あ、で
Yeah, we were worried about you there for a second.
また来てくれたんだ。
Yeah, we came to see you because we thought you might be... not be feeling okay. Fubuki wiped away her tears and welcomed us with her usual smile.
マユシーはドキドキしちゃったよ。ふぶきちゃんが泣いてるって思って。紛らわしいんだから。
Well, at least we don't have to be scared anymore.
ごめんごめん。
It was just Fubuki being Fubuki. Even as she apologized, she tossed another chocolate-coated stick into her mouth. Her hair was tied up and she was wearing some kind of headgear. At first I thought she was just too lazy to do her hair, but evidently not. There were cords coming out of the headgear that were attached to a belt around her waist. Were they monitoring her brainwaves? Rather odd apparatus, if I do say so myself. As unobtrusively as possible, I took another look around at the other patients around the room. So they were all wearing the same headgear. So I wonder if they're planning on scanning the brainwaves for possible signs of changes as the phenomena happens. They may have been giving it to all the encephalitis patients.
ふぶきちゃん、ごめんね。みんなで押しかけちゃって。
I'm sure she doesn't mind, Mayuri.
とんでもない。大歓迎だよ。それに、オカリンさんまで来てくれるとは思わなかった。
Yeah, about that. We need to talk. Possibly privately. Fubuki stared at me intensely. She'd never done that before, so I started to wonder if there was something on my face.
俺と同じように倒れたって言うから気になってたんだ。具合は？
Probably, the same as we are at the moment, given what she's been through. But I believe that will be it for this episode of Let's Play Steins Gate 0. In the next, when we return, adventurers, we shall hear what Fubuki has to say regarding the experience that she's undergone, and see if we can't glean some sort of insight from her. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.